Yeah, hi Vikrant. So welcome to the
Hi.
interview. I'm Shweta. I'll be conducting your technical interview today. How are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
Oh, fine.
Yeah.
So before we dive into the technical session, right, let me provide you with an overview of what to expect today. Okay. So we'll be covering the topics related to cloud computing, infrastructure,
Mm.
and possibly some coding exercises depending on the role. Okay. So
Mm.
throughout the interview, if you have any queries or if you want to seek any clarifications, you can feel free to ask to me whenever needed.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
is
Sure.
that clear for you?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, excellent. Let's start with a brief introduction. Could you tell me a bit about yourself and your background and your experience with the cloud technologies?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Hi. First of all, this is Vikrant, and I have completed my degree in IIT Madras. That in 2018. Okay. So in last 5 years, I have worked in DevOps areas and AWS services, Azure services. In these areas, I am working. And in AWS, let's take AWS in the sense I have worked with CloudFront and organization and you know networking part and then load balancer part. Okay, so these areas in admin level I have worked in AWS. Same kind of scenarios, the same similar kind of scenarios, similar kind of services I have worked in Azure. And in GitHub and Jenkins, I have a knowledge in CICD. Okay, so how we are designing a whole CICD pipelines, and even Terraform, DevOps tools. Okay, so Terraform for infra setup, native IAS tool for AWS and native IAS tool for Azure. Though that I know and that I worked also, and cluster orchestration in Kubernetes to getting the application with high availability, Docker containerizations, Dockerfile, Docker Hub. So these areas I have worked. Yeah. So these are all the things I have worked in last 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's all
great
about me.
to hear. Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah. So fine. So it's time to discuss more details as we progress through the interview. Now let's move
Mm.
on to the technical portion. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start by discussing your experience with the platforms. Could you please
Mm.
tell me about a project where you had to design or implement infrastructure on cloud platform?
Sorry, come again. Can you repeat your question again?
Could you please tell me about a project where you had
Mm.
to design or implement infrastructure on a cloud platform?
Okay. Actually, we did one project to our foreign client. Okay, so US client. So they are designing one. Sorry, they are deploying one real-time projects. Okay, so that's a grocery application. Okay, so they felt like they should avoid the data loss, something like that. If anything happened in the data center, they should avoid the data loss. So for that, they are asking us to set up one DR setup. So we did one DR setup to them. Okay, so now they are we define the DR setup for their client. Still okay. So still they are paying for that. Okay, so still no DR happen. This sorry no disaster happen in that location, but still they are paying. Why? Because to avoid the data loss. Okay. So and then where we are sorry which one we used in the sense Azure DR setup. Okay, so disaster recovery we are used to achieve this scenario, and test failover region stuffs are there. Okay, so we have to choose the respective region. For example, in our project we defined our customer resource in US East region, and we defined US West as a target region. Okay, so if anything happened in that US East region, that will reflected into the US West region. Okay, so like that we define that. Still, we didn't, initially at the time of project setup, we just clicking the failover, just a failover, but still there is no disaster happen. Okay, but the important thing is initially, we did the setup, but still they are paying for that. Okay, so that's the thing. That one we need to consider here. Okay, so if we are running a real-time production application, here we are owning a real-time company, something like that in the sense, we need to invest more things. Okay, so including DR setups also. Yeah, so this one, this is what we did in last time.
Okay. Okay. Have you worked on CI/CD pipeline?
Yeah, I worked on that CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration and continuous delivery. Yeah,
Okay.
actually, yeah. First of
Yeah,
all,
my
I'm just
question is,
telling. Hmm,
yeah, my
yeah.
question is, how do you ensure the security of a CI/CD pipeline?
Okay, so generally, if you are going to configure anything in that CI/CD, for example, we worked on Jenkins server. So in that time, we are just working with the nodes. Okay, so we are just working with the master slave nodes. So in that time, if we are configuring any keys or something in the sense, uh, uh, if you are configuring keys or something in the sense that will default by default encrypted by Jenkins. And we worked in GitOps pipelines also. That itself one people is there. Okay, so who's that? I think sorry, code scanning. Okay, so that's an AI tool that will find your vulnerabilities, and if you're having any issues, real-time issues, something like that in a sense, that will find out, that will suggest on code also. Okay, so you can simply implement into our code. Using that, we can simply secure our application. In addition to that, there itself secrets is there. Secrets means there itself we can store our real-time credentials into that. If you are going to store any real-time credentials into that, what will happen? They will encrypt that. Okay, so we are in CI/CD pipeline. If we are going to work with any real-time credential, we should keep that into one encryption part. Okay, so we have to encrypt the credential. So for that, in real time, in our project, we used these secrets. Okay, so in GitHub secrets, and even if you come to Jenkins, right, Jenkins itself credentials options are there. Okay, so if you are going to configure any credentials into that credentials part, that will encrypted by the Jenkins. Okay, so if you want to change the password, okay, so if you want to update anything in that credential essence, you can't see the existing one. Okay, so the thing is that is encrypted by Jenkins. Okay, so similar like that. If you go inside of GitHub, right? Similarly, they also have it. Okay, so this kind of security ways are there. Okay, so it definitely if you go inside of GitHub, they are having one AI tool. Okay, so code scanning that will really helps you to secure your application better than the previous one. Yeah. So these are the security things we followed in CI/CD design.
So, what about the audit? So, you didn't mention anywhere about the audit. So, you perform security audits.
Um, Actually, no, I don't know about that auditing things. Actually,
Oh, okay. Okay, can you please differentiate between CI, CD, and also CD? That is continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment.
okay, so yeah. Okay, so continuous integration means um, how we are working with our real-time application inside of an organization. Generally, if we are going to work with any project, that will be two kind of stages. Continuous integration means internal organization process. Continuous delivery means how we are delivering the projects to clients continuously. Okay, so simply we can tell, I'm just telling one scenario. Okay, so in backend developers are there. Okay, so developers what will do, they will upload the project modules. Okay, so where they work into the one online repo. For example, we can take GitHub. Okay, so when most of the places people using GitHub. Okay, so in other people's using code commit and code commit and Bitbucket, like that. Some other version control systems are there, but GitHub is familiar. So for that, I'm just taking GitHub as an example. Okay, so they will connect to the CI/CD. Okay, so they will connect to the build tool. Okay, so build tool, what will happen? Build tool will check the issues. Okay, so if any issues or something happened, it will again redirect the error to the backend developers, or else it will redirect the thing to who? Service delivery manager. Okay, so service delivery manager will check that application and then will deliver the application to client. And if client asking any new changes, okay, so to implement, or else if he wants to update something in that application, in the sense they will set to SDM manager. SDM manager will get that requirement, and they will explain that requirement in a cap call. Backend developers will work on that respective thing. Okay, so these are all the manual process. If we are going to achieve the same scenario in through same scenario by automation, that is something called CICD. Okay, so here uploading, build stage, testing stage, like that. These are all the stages are in, these are all the stages are in manual. Okay, so if we are going to work with the CICD tool, in the sense we have to create separate stages for it. Okay, so in that each stages we have to define the code accordingly. Okay, so that action code we need to define in that each stages. Okay, so if any one of stage got executed successfully, in the sense this will trigger the next stage. Okay, so if that stage completed, in the sense that will trigger to the next stage. Okay, so like that this CICD will happen. Build, test, and build this test, and then build this test, and release, deploy, operate, monitor. These stages will execute one by one. And then the important thing is here you need to consider one thing. If any issues happened in any one of stage, for example, in monitoring stage, if any issue, or else if any issues comes from build stage, something like that, in a sense, what will happen? You have to again run. You have to fix the CICD issue, and the important thing is you have to start the CICD. The thing is that execution will starts from first stage. Okay, so that's the important thing here we need to consider. Okay, so the stages will execute again from the scratch. Okay, so it won't resume from the error stages. Yeah, so these are the things.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Uh, have you worked on GitOps?
Yeah, yes, GitHub.
Okay. So how does it fits into the DevOps workflow? GitOps.
Yeah, actually, if you are going to work with, actually, in our project we worked with, multiple workflows in pipeline, sorry, in Python workflows also we did for go to 3 automations in AWS and Terraform, even Terraform also, we worked with GitHub Actions. In GitHub Actions, we can find the all workflows. For example, if we are going to work with the Terraform pipelines or Python pipelines based on our requirement, we can pick the respective workflow. Or else we can create one workflow from the scratch, no issues in that. Okay, so if you are going to pick any existing workflows, in the sense they will define, by default, that code will be that. You guys have, we have to perform some updations inside. Okay, so that's the only thing. And we executed the terraforms and boto 3 scripts, and even we worked with Azure ARM, that also we worked for infra setup. And here you can define the multiple stages, also multiple steps. Actually here we need to define, step by steps we need to define whatever the thing will be in the YAML script. Okay, so YAML script we need to use here. And if once we define that pipeline, sorry, here no pipeline, here workflow. Once we define the workflow, that execution will start starts from your GitHub. And then the important thing is you will get the each and every stage execution notification in your Gmail. Okay, so if build stage got executed in the sense, you will receive the mail in your Gmail. If that build stage got not executed in the sense, you will receive that mail. Okay, so for each and every stages operations, you will receive a mail. Okay, so now using you can find that issue. Okay, so if any people is running any big CICD in the sense, like that, you can easily sort out that issue. Okay, so then issue also will come that. Okay, so here itself, I initially said code scanning is that. If any issues or something happened, in the sense, you can use the code scanning that will find that issue in your template. If any simple issues or something like that, in the sense, they will suggest a code also. We can simply copy that and then we can simply implement it to our code. Yeah. Okay, so and then secrets just before I explain. Yeah, so these are all the things. Okay, so I worked in GitOps.
Okay, fine. That's good. So, can you describe your experience with technologies like Docker and Kubernetes?
Yeah. Actually, in Docker, I have worked in small container orchestration and port mapping and Docker Hub. Docker Hub area I worked. Docker Hub, which is nothing. That itself we can upload our local image to online repo. Okay, so in future, if we wants to get the Docker Hub, get the image instance, we can simply pull that from the Docker Hub. And here they are having some restrictions. If we wants to keep multiple images in Docker Hub, in a sense, we have to subscribe it. In free trial, we can keep one image as a private. Okay, so in Docker Hub. And in addition to that, I worked in Dockerfile to create a custom image. Uh, for example, it's similarly I can use the data in VM creation in cloud. Okay, so at the time of VM initialization, if he wants to perform anything inside, in the sense we are using user data, right? Similar kind of thing here. Uh, at the time of image creation, if we wants to install something, for example, if we wants to install any default packages like nginx, Apache, or else GitHub package, something like that. If he wants to install at the time of Docker package creation, with everything, not only package installation, or if he wants to perform any shell commands, any label design, like that, whatever you can define it here. Okay, so here they have some syntax like that from run, uh, expose, label, like that, lot of names they are having. Okay, so if you are using those names, you can work accordingly. From means to import any to install any operating system. Generally, if we are working with container, we should keep one image in local. Same like that. Okay, so same thing. But here in addition to that, we are just mapping some other activities also. Okay, so we don't want to take a remote of a container after the container creation. After that, we need to after that we don't need to map any application inside of that container. At the time of container creation, we can perform these things. Okay, so by using this image, Docker file. And now coming to cluster creation in cluster part in Kubernetes part, I worked with for cluster how we are creating a cluster in AWS and Azure. And a lot of versions are there: 1.28, 1.38, sorry 1.28, 1.27, up to 1.23, I think. Okay, so these modules are helps to work with the Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes generally, Kubernetes, it's an open source. Initially, that's developed by Google. Initially, they expose that applications to public users. um, what organization did, they integrated that service into their infra. For example, if you are taking AWS instance, they have in uh, AKS, sorry, AWS Kubernetes. Okay, the EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. If you are taking Azure instance, Azure Kubernetes Service. If you are taking Google instance, they are having Google Kubernetes Engine. So like that, they integrated into their infras. And then the next thing is inside of that deployment and then pod container, like that, three kind of levels are there. Okay, so deployment is a big group. Okay, so if you want to keep a pod in that deployment, in the sense, that will be available. Okay, so if we are deleting any pod, in the sense, uh, inside of deployment, what will happen? Cluster will give new pod for us using the existing data. Okay, so here no data loss will happen. But if you are taking a Docker container, if you are deleting a Docker, so if you are going with a Docker machine, if you performed any deletion, or else if anything happened in that operating system, in the sense that container will goes into stop state. But here in cluster case, in backend, multiple nodes will be there. Okay, so here not a single node. Here, okay, so here one plus nodes are there. Okay, so in real time, that will be like 10 plus nodes, 5 plus nodes like that. Okay, so if you are going to create a pod or container, pod actually here also containers are there. Container or in cluster scenario, container will place in the pod, pod will place in the deployment. Like that, stage by stages are there. Okay, the same kind of port mapping and those kind of cases are there. And here replicas which is nothing, it's a pod. Okay, so yeah, so these areas, so these things I worked in Kubernetes and even Docker for container orchestrations.
Yeah, yes, Vikrant. So that was a brief explanation. So yeah, fine. Okay, so how do you manage the configuration and the secrets in your infrastructure?
Mm, sorry, come again. Configuration. Okay. Actually, I got your question. Sorry. I got your question. Actually, I used some tools. Actually, okay. So HashiCorp Vault and then AWS Secret Managers also. Okay, so that's a tool that itself, we can secure the sensitive informations like credentials, and then API keys, certificates. Okay, so that will help to manage our security stuffs in centralized place. Okay, so in AWS, secret managers are there, and in HashiCorp. Okay, so HashiCorp means it's developed by Hashi Corporation. He's it's an organization which who developed the Terraform. Okay, so similar kind of scenarios there in Hashika, and I worked with secret managers to handling these things, and even we can use GitHub secrets also. That itself we have an options to secure our real-time credentials inside. Okay, so two ways, these two ways I used for managing a secrets for our organizations. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay. So, have you worked with any cloud platforms such as AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud Platform? Can you describe your
Hmm.
experience among
Yeah.
these
Actually,
platforms?
yeah. Yes. Actually, in AWS, I have worked in admin areas. I worked admin areas like IAM and Monitoring stuff means CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and logs, IAM user management. These areas I worked. And coming to in resource part, like virtual machine, load balancer, database configuration, no SQL areas I worked, but not in that much level. I just performed the implementation only. Backend DB team will perform that insertion, updation, deletions. Those things will taken care by backend team. And just working with configuration level. And in here itself, I worked in Azure AWS directory to manage an user credential in a centralized place, and CloudFront to avoid a latency that I worked, and organization service I know, and I worked also, and code commit, yeah. Okay, so code commit, version control system that I worked, and then code pipeline. Okay, so to design a CICD pipeline in AWS instance, we can use it. It's a native pipeline code for AWS. Okay, so here itself we can perform that CICD. Yeah. Okay, so these areas I worked in AWS, and sorry, and then main service I missed AWS Beanstalk I worked. Okay, so AWS Beanstalk, which is now they are giving one API. Okay, so they are giving one service portal. That itself we can deploy the real-time application inside. We don't want to keep any virtual machine. We don't want to deploy any applications into one VM. We can simply configure. We can simply deploy the applications into one. What is that? One portal. Okay, so they will give one domain name for it. Okay, so if we are going to access the domain name, we can access it. Okay, so hosting things only, you don't want to keep the important the consider thing is here we don't want to keep any real-time VMs. The backup VMs will be taken care by AWS. It's a platform as a service. In other words, we can simply say it like it's a platform as a service. We don't want to keep anything. They're giving one portal. That's how we can work with the backend resources. Okay, so that's how we can deploy that application. Similar kind of knowledge I have in Azure. Like if I'm going to work with Azure in the sense, I have worked with, I have that more knowledge in Azure Active Directory area, how we are maintaining users, and how we are maintaining a real-time credentials, and how we are migrating a local machine credentials into so local machine, which means on-prem credentials into cloud. Yeah, so these are the areas, these are the stuffs I worked in, Active Directory, and roles area, Active Directory role. And coming to other services like VM, same similar kind of services like VM, load balancer, and VM scale set, availability set, yeah, and Azure App Services, Azure Functions. These are the areas I work in Azure.
Yeah, yeah. Fine, fine, Vikram. Yes. So yeah, you said like you probably worked on most of the DevOps tools. So can you discuss a challenging problem you encountered in a previous project and how you resolved it using DevOps practices?
Actually, initially we worked in a project actually that is in a multi-cloud actually. That project is just nothing, what we did, we created a on CICD. Okay, so that is for migrating the AWS VM to Azure. Okay, so that's the scenario. Actually, that's a production application too. Okay, so that what we did, in AWS we used BMIE tool. Okay, so using that BMIE tool, we used one images. Okay, so using that images, what we did, using that ISO images, we picked that image in a CICD, but that's not accepted. So for that, we changed it into one, another format. So after that, we define that pipeline, and after that, Azure picking that format. Okay, so this issue, it's a one of an issue we faced, and same like that, we worked in Beanstalk areas. Okay, so Beanstalk areas, same application we deployed into that Azure App Service, but that hosting configuration is very. So for that, we checking some real-time things, what issue we faced, something like that. We checked in that internet. That configuration is different. The deployment is okay, but the hosting thing is very okay. So this issue we faced, these two issues we faced. Hmm.
Okay, okay, Vikram. So fine. Okay, can you tell us your experience with infrastructure monitoring and alerting?
Okay. So actually in AWS, I worked in CloudWatch and CloudTrail. Okay, so in that itself, I can simply create an alert row. Okay, so if any irrelevant activity happened in my Azure AWS resources, for example, I just set a notification for CPU utilization for a VM and storage account sizes, VM scale size. Like that, I just define some alerts. Because if anything, if any users, unwanted users happening, doing something with my VM instance, I'm getting the notification. Okay, so it's an one of the thing. Same kind of thing, same kind of monitoring stuff I know in Azure part. What is that? Actually, Azure monitoring. Okay, so that itself we can create a rule and VM creations part, sorry, VM alert part, CPU utilization getting, or else storage account part, and then network in, network out. Okay, so this kind of activity I'm getting in the monitoring area, Azure monitoring area. Okay, so not only AWS and then Azure tools in real time, graph now is there. Okay, so that will monitor our real time applications. Okay, so it properly working or not. Like that, that online tool will, sorry, that's Grafna tool will check our applications with a certain time of interval. If anything issue, if any real time issue happened in in the sense will happen in the sense it will throw the issues to our respective people. Okay, and same like that. Or else in AWS, okay, so ELK elastic search, or else elastic logistic kibana, and then slack or pung. Okay, so these kind of analyzing logs tools are there to getting analyzations. Yeah, so yeah, and that will help to troubleshoot the problems quickly. And yeah, so and that will shows that application is healthy or not, and then performance of our applications, identify issues. Okay, so these things we can simply sort out here. In if we are using this kind of monitoring tools in the sense, we can simply sort out those issues here. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yes, Vikrant. So it's fine. You almost uh, briefly answered for all the questions I've asked. And so thank you, Vikrant.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
for your time today and for sharing your experience with us. And do you have any final questions before we wrap up?
Mm, actually, no, ma'am.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So before you go, I want to thank you once again for coming in today and discussing your background with us. And
Mm.
we'll be we'll be touch with the next step in the hiring process. If you have any
Mm.
further questions, right, you'll be feel free free to reach out to the HR department. Okay.
Mm. Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Sure. Yeah. So, yes, we are excited about the possibility of working together and wish you best of luck, Vikram.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Nice
Yeah.
interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.